Fred Kelly here, your nerd sidekick. Did you know that your phone, tablet, or computer can now beam its screen to any display, whether it's a monitor, TV, or projector, and all wirelessly? Let's have some fun testing this simple little device. Now, if you've ever had the awkward experience of trying to connect a laptop to a conference room TV or wish you could share a video from your phone on your big screen TV, well, you know how frustrating this can be. So let's solve that today. Now, for full disclosure, this product was provided to me free of charge, but no fees were paid for this review, and this video was not approved by anyone before posting it. This is the SHERRIVA wireless USB-C transmitter and HDMI receiver kit. Let's open the box and take a quick look at the contents. Here's a thank you card and then the instruction booklet here. We'll take a look at that later. And this is I believe this is the transmitter. So this would plug into a USB-C port on your computer, phone, or other device. I believe this is the receiver. And you can see both of these devices are very small, so this is real easy to carry even in your pocket. But this would easily, of course, fit into a laptop bag if that's how you're using this. So let's take a look under here. And looks like we have a little bag here to carry everything in. And here's a short HDMI cable, I believe. Yeah, we can take the covers off, and there's the HDMI cable. And then this is a short USB cable with a C on one end and A on the other. And I believe that's used to power this receiver. So I'll get all this plastic wrap off and let's give this a try. All right, first thing I'm going to connect my laptop here to this monitor. This is just a standard monitor with an HDMI port on the back. So first I need to connect this receiver, and you can see the receiver has two ports here. One is the HDMI port, which allows the video signal to reach the monitor, and the other port here is a USB port, and that's USB-C there. This receiver does need to be powered for this to work. Now, some video monitors will have a USB port somewhere on the back, but this one does not. It's an older monitor, so I'll need to plug in a separate USB port somehow. Now, if you had a USB port on the monitor, you could use this very short USB cable, but it's just too short for my case. So I can use pretty much any USB cable that I would use to charge, say, a cell phone, and just plug that into this receiver here, plug that into the wall like you would with a USB-C charger or USB charger. So this cable has, on this end, it's got a USB, actually it's converted into USB-C, and so I can just plug that in to this receiver here. And you can see as soon as I plug that in, it does light up, so we know it's getting power. And then next, I can plug in this short HDMI cable right into that port. And then on the back of the monitor, all I need to do is plug in this short HDMI cable into the back of the monitor and the HDMI port. When you make that connection, your monitor should wake up, and you'll probably see this display where it says Air HD on the screen. Now, if you're connecting to a TV, you will need to turn the TV on, of course, and then select the correct input source. And I'll talk about that shortly when I connect this device to a TV. So now I need to plug the transmitter into my laptop. So this device needs to plug into a USB-C port on the laptop. Now, this computer is already turned on, which means once I plug this in, it will immediately begin powering this transmitter. You'll see the light come on, and that should trigger the transmitter to try to connect to the receiver on the monitor. So let me try to plug this in, and let's see what happens. And you can see the light comes on and it starts to flash. And when they are connected, you see it goes solid. And you can see the monitor and the computer are now connected wirelessly. And so let me open on the computer, let me open up a notepad just to have something up on the screen. Let me turn my computer around just so you can see. So as you watch me move my mouse around here on the table, you can see that as I drag this window around on the monitor, on the computer itself rather, you can see there's just a slight delay as you watch it here on this monitor. But if you were playing a video game, it might be an issue, but in terms of doing just regular things like showing something on a conference room, showing a PowerPoint or something like that, this would absolutely work. One thing you may be wondering is, can this wireless device allow this monitor to function as a second monitor, that is a secondary separate monitor from what you see on the actual computer itself? In other words, it's not a duplicate, it is an extended display. So how would you set that up? Well, let's try it. So if you go onto your computer and just go to the desktop, I'm going to right click and then click display settings. And so right now it is showing that this secondary monitor is a duplicate. So I can change that just by clicking on duplicate these displays where it says that, and instead change that to extend these displays. I'm going to keep the changes, and now you can see that it is showing two separate monitors. And in fact, I'll turn this around so you can see what's happening. And so you can see there are two different things on these monitors. If I click on identify, you can see that it shows this is the first monitor and this is the second. I'll click that again just so you see that. And so definitely this will allow you to use whatever monitor you connect to wirelessly with this device. You can use it as a second monitor. So for example, if you were presenting in a conference room, you could see whatever you want to see just on your computer, but then whatever displays is what you want the audience to see. So it could be two different things. Now this device will transmit both video and audio, so if your monitor has speakers, it would be able to play any audio that was playing from your computer. So that's a simple laptop to monitor connection. Let's try connecting a phone to a monitor. I've got my Android phone. This is a Samsung Galaxy S20, so it's over 5 years old now, but it does have a USB-C port. So I've got the receiver still plugged into the back of the monitor, and so I'll just plug the transmitter into the phone's USB port. And the transmitter light is flashing as it attempts to connect to the receiver. And let's see, there it is. It's already connected. And you can see the phone screen is mirrored here on the monitor. And if I just move that around, you can see it pretty much follows whatever it is that I'm doing. So that's a real easy way to show your phone up on a TV or a monitor like this one. And I'll show you a TV in just a moment. Now, I don't have an iPhone, but the manufacturer's information does indicate that iPhone 15 and 16, which are the first iPhones to use USB-C ports, should work just fine with this transmitter. One thing to mention here is that the transmitter has a port on the side, and you can see that right here. And that lets you connect a USB charger, and that allows the phone or even a computer, if it was connected to a computer, to be charged while this transmitter is in use. And this would come in very handy if you're trying to play a full-length movie, for example. A 2-hour movie could easily drain your phone's battery, so by plugging in a charger here, you can make sure your phone or your other devices stay powered. Well, next I want to connect this to a TV. I'm in my living room here with my 15-year-old, I think it's 15-year-old TV. This thing is so old it's not even a 4K TV, it's just a 1080. But I have installed the receiver back here. There is a port on the side where I can plug in anything, an HDMI device. And there's also a USB port. So that allowed me to power that little receiver. So that shows you even a 15-year-old TV should have a USB port that allows you to power devices like this little receiver. So I've got that connected. You can see it's already, I have adjusted the input on the television so that it's on the right input for that particular port. So again, you may need to adjust the inputs depending on which HDMI port you plug the device into. You will need to select the right input on your television. So I've done that. And you can tell that, of course, because it shows Air HD on the television. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug the transmitter into the same phone that you saw earlier. So I'll plug that in. And you can see how long this takes to connect. It's actually very quick. I'd say most of the testing I've done has been about 10 seconds or less. So there it is. And you can see once again, I am connected. And so now what could you do with this? Well, let's say you wanted to look at your photos. You could just go into your photos and there's a bunch of old photos. Or let's say you wanted to watch a video, let's say on YouTube. So I could go into my YouTube and let's say I wanted to see something from my own YouTube channel. So I'll just do a search for Nerd Sidekick and there's my channel. So let's just pull up this video here. And of course we got to skip the ad. And now I can, there I am watching the video on how to build a computer. If you need to build a computer, watch this video. I can turn the volume up and now you can actually hear the video. And really show you good close-ups of what I'm doing so you understand it. I'll show you everything you need. I did test this with Netflix and Prime Video and of course YouTube, and they all work pretty well. Now one thing to understand is this is a 1080 device. In other words, this is going to be transmitting at only 1080. So if you had something that was in 4K, it'll be downsized and it'll show up of course on a 4K TV, but it just won't be in the 4K resolution. So this works real well. Now the one thing I want to check is how far I can take this transmitter away from the receiver that's on the back of the TV and actually get it to connect to or stay connected to the TV. So I'm going to walk outside and let's just see how far this will go. All right. I'm going to walk outside and just see how far I can go. Walking out into the middle of my yard here. We'll see how well this video works. And turn around here now. I can look at my front door. I'm going to back up and just see how far this will work. So I reviewed the footage and it looks like I got maybe 15 feet away from my front door, which is, I would say that's about 40 feet away from where the TV is. Now, if this was line of sight, I believe I could go much further. And the manufacturer does say it's about 100 feet distance that this would remain connected to the device. Another great use of this type of device, a wireless video connection, would be to use it with a projector. So I've got a projector here. You might have a projector, you'd find these in a lot of conference rooms, or let's say you have a media room in your home. One of the things about projectors is often they are mounted on a ceiling or in a hard to reach place. And so if you had a receiver like this constantly connected to a projector, that would make it very easy to access a device. Let's say a vendor comes into your business and needs to show something on the projector. If there's not an easy way to connect into that projector, well, they can easily tap into it by plugging in the transmitter into that device that they brought in and show whatever it is they need to show on your projector. So let's just plug this receiver into the back of the projector. The projector here does have a USB port, so that allows me to power this device. And so let me do that. All right, you can see it's powered up, and in just a moment here, now this projector is not currently on the right input, and it will find the right input. It's constantly looking to see if there's something new, but a lot of these also come with a remote and would let you easily select the correct input that you have plugged the device into, and you can see it found it. There's our Air HD screen, and so now what I need to do is just plug this transmitter into the back of the computer like we did earlier. And you can see it's starting to power up and it's blinking, so I know it is trying to make the connection between the two devices. Takes just a moment here, and that's it. It made the connection. You can see up here on the screen, it's a little, there's a lot of light in this room, and so you can't really see it too well, but in the room here where I am, I can see the screen very well, so I could easily come up here and move this around. You can see on the screen of my computer, or this as well, we have the same thing, or you could, again, you could extend it and have two different things, something different on the computer versus what is up on the projector. Those are some of the ways you can use the WHD-1000 wireless video transmitter. I want to talk about a couple other things that I hadn't shown you yet. One of those is this button that's on the transmitter. This button here has a function other than just to tell you that the two devices are connected. So let's say you're in the middle of a demonstration in front of a group of people, and you need to pull up a file that might be in a place where you don't want people to see what's on the screen of your computer. Well, how do you solve that problem? I can press the button, and you'll notice instantly the screen that the people you might be demonstrating to, that goes back to the logo, and they can't see what you're doing on your computer. So you can find whatever it is you need to show people. Once you've found that and you've got it where you're not revealing anything you don't want people to see, you hit the button again, and it's immediately back and working so people can see what you're doing. So that's very easy to use, very helpful, and instantaneous. That's the great part about it. One important requirement I must mention: when you plug the transmitter into a USB-C port, that port must support what's called DP alt mode, and that's short for DisplayPort Alternate Mode. This allows video and audio to be sent over USB-C. Now, the problem with this is that not all USB-C ports support DP alt mode. You might see a DisplayPort symbol or a Thunderbolt symbol next to the port. Both usually mean the video output is supported, but not all USB-C ports will have those labels, even if they do support DP alt mode. For example, this laptop's USB-C ports don't show the DisplayPort or Thunderbolt symbol, but they are DisplayPort enabled, as you've seen in this video. Most Android and iPhones with a USB-C port will support DisplayPort. Now, if in doubt, just connect the transmitter and give it a try. You're not going to harm the computer or the phone or the transmitter if that particular device does not support DP alt mode. The transmitter does provide full HD video, which is 1080. This does work in 1080p at 60 hertz, so that will give you smooth video playback. The connection between the two devices is very stable. I did some long-term testing, and there was never any glitching. I didn't have any issues with that. Now, of course, depending on the distance between the transmitter and the receiver, you could have some issues, and if there's something in between the two, but in terms of line of sight, within 100 feet, that's where you should have a stable connection. One of the things that I was most impressed by was the nearly instantaneous connection between the two devices. It only took maybe 10 seconds for the devices to pair up and have a clean connection. And in some of the things I've done in my past, working with some wireless devices, they just didn't work very well. So I'm extremely impressed by how the connection was instantaneous. And the great thing is it's plug and play. So there's no software that you have to mess with. It's very simple. You don't have to install anything. And so to me, that's one of the best things about this device is it's just plug and play. Now, the instructions, I have to say, these are very well written and illustrated instructions. The device that I received came with just this English language only set of instructions. I'm assuming if they're selling this in other countries, they may have instructions in your language, but these were translated to English very well. If they didn't originate in English, they did a great job of translation. It's a pet peeve of mine when the instructions aren't well written. So overall, I give this an excellent rating. I would definitely recommend this if you want to pick one up. I will have an affiliate link in the description below, and I think you'll be happy with how well this works, how easily it is implemented. All right, I'm Fred Kelly. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.